Hello, welcome to Good Games Well Played, episode 209. I'm Clint, aka JCM. With us this week is Isli
Yo,
and Messiah.
Hello.
I should start pronouncing it Isley. You'd be like, no.
along with Jan.
Jan and Loon. I'll say Mel instead of
Would
Mael.
you? I know you. What was the other one? Were you calling her Seal?
Sail?
Yeah, you
Seal?
called her
No,
something weird.
I might have said seal just as a joke. like
I
like a
don't think
seal.
Sayel is right either.
It's Ciel.
Yeah,
Seal. Whatever, it's close. That's close enough. Sail. I can't keep going around trying to make sure I pronounce everything when there's a bunch of
was
characters
your
you got to
was
work
your
with.
grandpa's name? Uh, was your grandpa's name Seal?
All right, where's my soundboard? I need to kill
If
that
that's
guy.
your excuse, you only have so many grandmas and grandpas. I just want to get their names out of the way.
Yeah, no. We're fine. It's just talking quick. They're not always saying each other's names either. Problem every time, like all the time. You take a break, you only play for 2 hours a night. It's like, all right,
Your excuse for Jan was that they don't say his name enough in the game. There's like 12 of him in the game. The whole point of the game is that there's 12
yeah,
of
but
him.
they don't say like they start saying initially after that first one. They go, okay, who are you? And they're like, oh, I'm so and so, and he's like,
They're
okay,
like,
and then you do
"I'm
the whole
Jan 2. I'm
I'm
Jan 3."
I'm Jan Kitchen. uh, I'm Jan Botanist. Yeah, not a whole lot going on this week. Like I said, a lot of follow up for we recorded during the Xbox. That's one thing I probably should have said was the Xbox showcase, but it wasn't like anything really to talk about because so I have it at the same time. So it kind of covers some of the stuff. I mean, they showed like more Outer Worlds 2. They have a DLC for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle called the Order of Giants. They showed Keeper, which is a new game from Double Fine, which looks interesting. And then they have Fallout 76 Gone Fishing. It's Fission, not Fission, Gone Fission. So it's like a play on the word. So now you can play Fallout 76. Go fishing for some mutated fish.
I might
That'd be
have to
good
do this.
times. Like, do I have to? They have Tales of Tamria. I think there's some more stuff there for Elder Scrolls Online. Sea of Thieves getting like an update. They showed off a big trailer for Clockwork Revolution, which they showed off like way back. And watching, I was like, this game looks really like I'm really interested in this game. With what they seem to be doing with the whole timey rewind stuff and making different choices. I'm hoping it's as robust as it seems to be, but it very much feels like Bioshock Infinite, more steampunk.
What
So
game was
I'm curious.
this?
Clockwork Revolution.
I don't even think I saw it. I feel like there have been so many games announced in the past 2 weeks that I just, like, can't keep up with all of them.
Oh, okay. You should go watch the trailer. I remember when the teaser came out. I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. Wait, call me when you have more. And they came out and showed this, and I was like, okay, this looks. I like the way this looks.
Oh, it's by the people that did Wasteland.
Yeah. They also have FF16 coming to Xbox. High on Life 2, they showed more there. Then they had a game. I think this is from some of the ex-Witcher folks who went onto this other studio called The Blood of Dawnwalker. It's essentially your blade in the medieval era is basically what it is. So it's an RPG set in 14th century Europe. You play as Cohen, human by day, vampire by night, fighting to save your family. It's like, all right, there you go. And then we had Resonance, A Plague Tale Legacy. So it looks like a Plague Tale sequel. Yeah, 15 years before the first game. It's not too far back. It looks like it's way more fantastical, like it should be further back than it is. But okay, Plague Tale sequel. I still have to play the second one. I have it in my to-do list. Then there was a game called Beast of Reincarnation by the Pokemon folks, which looks like very not in the art style of Studio Ghibli, but kind of like fanciful, like what would seem like one of their movies. Like I'm like, okay, what? Why does this game look really good? What's up with Pokemon? What? Which is what everybody's saying, but that looks interesting. FF7 Remake Integrate is coming to Xbox as well. Persona 4 Revival got announced. Then they had a bunch of other stuff. Planet of Lana 2, a game called Aphelion, which looks interesting. It seems like it could be kind of a spooky space, not like walking sim, but like very narrative heavy kind of title. Looks interesting. There Are No Ghosts at the Grand Hotel seems interesting. They showed off their ROG Ally that they're collaborating on. So that's the Xbox handheld. There's two versions of it. And then they also showed off, what was the other thing that I thought they showed something else that I was like, oh, that looks interesting, but I can't seem to find it on this list. So there's a Super Meat Boy 3D, which I know caught a lot of people by off guard. Like, what? They showed Ninja Gaiden 4, showed another trailer there. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and
The
4.
the Super Meat Boy one surprisingly looks kinda fun. Like, I I enjoyed Super Meat Boy, the 2D ones, and I like that style of game. I feel like there were other games similar to that that I enjoyed more than Super Meat Boy, but the 3D one actually looks pretty entertaining.
Like, essentially, I mean, if people like Super Meat Boy, they're caught off guard at first, and they're like, hey, it could be good.
It's just kind of
Uh,
like the challenging platformer genre. It's a good
Yeah.
Mhm.
one.
They showed the Gears of War Reloaded trailer. Not a whole lot of enhancements up over the PC. I think there was like a PC remastered of it, so it's like not too much there. But for folks on PlayStation who never played it, it's like, all right, there you go. Here's your look at Gears One. One of the surprising announcements I saw was like Grounded Two. Like I didn't realize that the first Grounded actually sold well enough, and I was like, I'm surprised you're not just expanding on that base game. But I think I saw. I wish I saved it, but I think I saw an interview with them saying that the reason they had to make a two was because they couldn't really. They were limited by the initial tech in that first one. But I'm like, wouldn't this essentially be like most sequels, just a 1.5 version of your engine? Like, can't you just back put all that stuff on there? But do what you got to do. But Grounded 2's coming out, so. And then, did we? Oh, I didn't do it with you, Isli. You didn't. I should have done it when you were on stream yesterday. I forgot to show you the blind react to the trailer. I wanted to show you.
Do I need to watch it right now on stream?
We're
Pause
not
for
gonna
two
watch.
minutes.
We're not gonna. I guess. I mean, we could pause if I stream shared it on. If I screen share it, yeah, just to watch this trailer. Are you familiar with everything that was announced at Xbox?
No,
Okay. Uh,
I didn't
let
watch
me.
the Xbox show, so
Okay, let me. Where are we right now? Note to
I'm
self:
so curious why you want a
edit this
blind
out.
reaction to a random trailer. I'm like way less interested now that there's this part.
Yep. And this is
Gone.
where I was like, motherfucker. Everybody collectively was kind of like, all
How
that
is
other
this
stuff
Call of Duty Black Ops at all?
What
because
does that have to
the
do with
Black Ops
anything?
series is very much about like mind altering stuff. Like that main character, he would be like you were what do they call that thing?
Well,
Uh,
in a way, that was a great trailer because it made me interested in something I haven't been interested in for decades. But then in a way, it was also a horrible trailer because as soon as the end came, I lost all interest again.
yep.
It Call of Duty piqued my interest for all of like 30 seconds. So I assume that was exactly what your reaction was, is that you were really piqued for like the 30 seconds of
hmm
weirdness. Yeah.
That's how everybody felt, except for Easy Allies, who were apparently very excited about it. But I was watching other people's reaction. I was like, because I watched, I was like, okay, this is interesting. I was like, okay, we're just military shooter. Okay, whatever. Could be something new. Is this Perfect Dark? No, it's not Perfect Dark. Okay. Oh, we got some weird stuff going on. Oh, okay, what's going on now? We're going on some weird sci-fi route. Oh, this is cool. And then yeah, the whole end thing. And then when that guy says Mason, I was like, Mason sounds like that Call of Duty guy from Black Ops that I don't play. And then it's like, yep, it's Black Ops 7. So then it's like, that was their one more thing at the showcase. Was
So
It
the
would have
Black
been
Ops
really
series.
cool
Oh, go
if
ahead.
the one more thing wasn't Call of Duty. If the one more thing was literally a new IP or honestly almost any other genre game. Like literally almost any other game, I think I would have been more excited than Call of Duty. All of the
Mhm.
ones I rattled off of like feels like Vanguard or Ghost in the Shell or maybe Perfect Dark or Stranger Things or any of those, I would have been like weird, interesting, don't understand how this works, but looks great. But Call of Duty, no.
Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
So the Black Ops series, is that not just like what it has like mind altering stuff? It's not just like
Yeah,
literal Black Ops, like just uh behind the scenes kind of paramilitary bullshit?
yeah, it's all like around MK Ultra and stuff like that. Uh, you
Oh.
know, and like in those first games, like okay, the main guy isn't who he's been brainwashed by the Russians, but you don't know that right away. And then it's like so there's a lot of that going on, like okay, and that's what people like really like. Like they went like way more hard with their story in those first Black Ops games. And a lot of people like love that about it. Like it gets really trippy. There's a lot of mind stuff, and there is some mind stuff in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Like I did play that one because that's the one that came out on the PS5 launch, and I wanted to play the 120 hertz mode on the TV. And there is some fun visual mind stuff level. Like I don't think none of you play Far Cry, but like Far Cry ever since 3 always has like a weird drug trip sequence that's always really cool visually. And there's like sequences like that in the Black Ops games because like the characters like they're an unreliable narrator. Because they can't remember things. They don't realize that they were, the mole or something because of this girl. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on, and they play that up in the story. But like I've never seen it to this extent of where stuff has gone way crazy. I was like, "I've never seen that happen." Um, but
Oh,
again, I
man. I
haven't
didn't
played
know it
all
was
the
about,
Black Ops
like,
games.
MK Ultra and stuff like that, which is,
Yeah,
like,
it
probably the only conspiracy theory that I subscribe to, or not subscribe to, but enjoy. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
so
might
it's
watch
I'm
a
gonna need the
play or
primer on
something soon.
this. What is the MK Ultra conspiracy theory?
Oh, that the government was experimenting with mind control with, like, what was it, like, LSD or something like that?
yeah, with drugs back in the '60s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that a
and
conspiracy theory? I thought that like the government was known for experimenting with LSD and stuff.
I mean, it's a
yeah,
conspiracy theory in the sense that, like, "Ooh, look at this crazy thing that the government is doing," but as you get older, you're like, "Yeah, they probably absolutely did that."
but more like the conspiracy around, did it ever actually like, was it successful in,
Yeah.
some sort of psyop or some operation to be like, "Okay,
Oh,
we'll
okay.
infiltrate the government." So it's like, yeah, they tried it, obviously.
Yeah, I was
They
I
kinda
was
It's like
like, I have no
a
doubt that the government experimented with LSD and tried to like do all that shit with people. I I would put money on that.
it was a very, like sleeper agents kinda
Mhm.
thing. So it's
Yeah,
like, oh, the conspiracy theory is that, like, every world-altering event was actually orchestrated by a sleeper agent kinda thing, so
yeah.
that's where the
Winter Soldier
conspiracy
kinda
kinda comes
stuff.
in. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's like, "Ooh, that's fun." But,
yeah,
yeah, I like I like the, like, thought behind it, stuff like that, so I don't know, it
yeah.
seems like something that obviously, I'm not gonna play it because I don't like shooters and I don't like Call of Duty, but I might watch Ray or somebody play it, like, because I didn't know it was about I thought it was just, like, the I don't know how to explain it, like, the power fantasy behind,
Just being a soldier.
paramilitary,
Yeah, there's some
like
of that
Metal Gear
there.
kinda stuff where it's like the government has this team of,
Mhm.
uh, literal, like,
Elites.
black ops, like,
Yeah.
they go in and do shit that's not legal, like war crimes and shit. I thought that's what that
Yeah.
was.
That is kind of what Black Ops is, like, you're always doing stuff like because the Modern Warfare ones are always more like, just straight up warfare. Okay, we go infiltrate, we're trying to find someone, like, they have a running story through all those, and it's usually on a big level, but yeah, the Black Ops is a little more like, "Okay, we're gonna go in here during this thing," like, Cold War was obviously during the Cold War era, and there's some stuff going on there, and again, there's the unreliable narrator situation, and then the character being brainwashed by the Russians, but he's an American agent, and then just like it's there's a lot going on. I think I don't know if this Mason is the exact same Mason because it's like, okay, well, that takes place in like the Cold War. Is he still he'd be way older? So I'm not sure. Like I don't know where it goes after like in all I haven't played all the games. I know they're beloved, but I never played I never played them. But people
Now
like
I
the story
just
in this game.
see now I'm just like, okay, Xbox, you can come up with really cool ideas for trailers. Why didn't somebody like make this trailer and pitch a different game and be like, look at this cool game we can make?
'Cause it's
Now
Xbox
I'm
and their
just
bread and
mad
butter
at
is
Call
Call of
of
Duty.
Duty. Yeah, I'm just mad at Call of Duty again.
Yeah, what's crazy though is because they just did Black Ops 6 in 2024. So it's like it's interesting that they immediately have I mean, that to me is the most interesting is that they're immediately having another Black Ops is the next game instead of another, like, Call of Duty Modern Warfare game or a different game or something, so it's interesting that they did it. Yeah, I was trying to read through here, a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I guess 6 takes place in 1991. So I'm curious, it seems like this one's in the future, or maybe it's just a future that's in his mind, who knows? But could be a I don't know. We'll see.
It's very much a premise that can get, I don't wanna say out of hand, but out of hand very quickly. It's like you can kind of start with the realism of it where it's like he's kinda just having flashbacks and it's just a little bit weird and there's something weird going on, and now it seems like, "No, we're just gonna go batshit crazy," and, like, now this is control.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see how that I
Which
think
like
I'm sure
if they
go ahead.
made it Control, that'd be really cool, but you know that if it's a Call of Duty, it's not going to be Control and it's going to have the exact same gameplay as every Call of Duty ever because that's Call of Duty. Like you know that it has to go that route.
Yeah. There's always,
There's
like, a twist too in the stories, whenever you're playing them too.
I didn't even know there were stories.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just
there's,
kidding,
like, I
but
yeah, there's it's very basic in the Modern Warfare ones, but yeah, the Black Ops always has, like, a big twist. But yeah, anyways, that's that, and that was Xbox. But then everything else that happened was kinda like just people, interviews, a lot of that, so not too much following, news-wise that's gonna be out there, but some of the things that did come out is that, oh, I guess I forgot Konami had, like, a little showcase. I didn't watch it, but it was, like, a tiny one, but they did confirm that a Silent Hill 1 remake is officially in development at Bloober Team, so that was announced, since the Silent Hill 2 one did so well, so now it'll be a remake for Silent Hill 1. I wonder if I'm gonna be seeing on my map as much as I did in the remake for the 2.
Absolutely.
Yep.
'Cause it's gonna
Uh,
be just the 2 engine, but with the 1 storyline, so
yeah. That'd be fine.
how many times
Looks
did you
good.
push on the locked doors?
Yeah. We also saw Capcom confirm that, Resident Evil Requiem will be playable in both first and third person, kinda like the Rose DLC for, Village. You're able to do both perspectives in there, so I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's cool, and I didn't play the Rose DLC, and maybe this would have changed it, but like I kind of feel like designing a horror game for first person versus designing a horror game for third person is a different experience. And I'm curious how it's going to actually feel playing it both ways, like if both ways will feel correct, or if there's going to be one clear, like this is the definitive way to play it. Because I just imagine, if you're in first person, you can be shocked by things that are to your left or right or behind you. You don't have situational awareness, and like different jump scares can happen. Whereas if
Mhm.
you're in third person, you can pivot the camera, you can see all around you. So it's like it's a different style of game, and I feel like they're going to design it towards one, and the other, whether it's first person or third person, is just going to be kind of like a gimmick tacked onto it.
Yeah, I feel like I'd wanna stick with first just because they did 7 and 8 in first. I'd be curious to go back and play the Rose DLC and then see, like, "Hey, is this" because I do remember one bit from it. I won't spoil it in case you go back and play it, but I'm like, "Okay, regardless, that would be scary in both perspectives, but it would be scary in first." Like, when I played, Post Trauma, like, playing it third person is like, "Okay, yeah, it's fine." The game wasn't that spooky to begin with on the, overall, so get kinda, like, creepy vibes. But then immediately when it kicks me into the first person section, I was like, "Oh my god, this got infinitely more creepy because I'm in first person." For me, first person is scarier, but, like, playing something like Dead Space is still creepy, uh, in third
I
person.
I definitely think first person is scarier. I just think that like the styles of games around first
Mhm.
person or third person, you can't like I don't think Dead Space works as well if you just change it from third person to first person. The game itself has to be updated, and I don't mean like the code. I mean like the design of the game and the design of the levels probably has to be updated if you change from third person to first person. Like in Dead Space, a lot of the necromorphs attack from different directions. You're kind of pivoting around. It's an action oriented game. There are scenes that require you to have like situational awareness of being able to shoot in different directions. The fact that you turn slowly is kind of like the pause screen, for example, like you pause and it's not actually paused, it pulls up in a HUD, so you never have like that feeling of safety. I think that if you just switch that game to first person, it doesn't work quite as well. You probably have to change like how enemies spawn, how enemies attack you. You probably have to change what some of the enemies actually look like because you can't have the little like creepy babies crawling from, under a chair or something. That probably loses its effect if you can't actually see the babies. So there's a level of me that's like the game's going to get designed for one or the other, and I think there's going to be a clear winner. And I think it's going to be first person just because I think that it's the same team that did 7, right?
Do they have different teams
I
within the
maybe
Resident
not.
Evil
I thought it
group?
was
I
like the
thought they
same
there's just the one
director or
team.
something. Like
Ah, I'd
uh,
have to check.
maybe it's the director. I thought it was like the same director or team or someone that did 7, which leads me to believe it's going to be a first person first game and that the third person mode is just going to be tacked on, which if that's the case, that's fine. I just don't view it as a selling point because I'm not sure I would ever believe that like a game the camera could just be switched back and forth with it not changing the actual experience.
Yeah. Dead Space Extraction devs are like, "Man, what if we went third person instead?" No. But, even though it won awards on the Wii. Yeah, it's gotta be tough too to design a space around 2 perspectives as well. Like, typically, like, you're trying to guide the player's eye, with lighting techniques and what have you. So it's gotta be like, okay, if we're gonna be in third person now, or they can be, this we gotta make sure the hallway is tall enough that the over the shoulder camera can still work well enough versus if it was in first person. But, like,
But that's
yeah,
exactly what I mean. Like designing the actual space itself, it's not as easy as just changing the camera. There's like aesthetic and artistic decisions that have to be made based around the perspective you're playing the game.
I'm
And
sure
like I
good.
do feel that's just why I feel like there's got to be one clear direction of how it's actually designed, and the second camera mode is just a gimmick.
I'm sure they learned a lot doing the DLC for Village, though. Like, that's gotta be, like, the test ground, like, can it work? That way you can satisfy fans who like third person because of the remakes of 2 and 3, and then you can satisfy fans who like the first person direction with 7 and Village. So it could be like, we'll do both. That way we cater to each, because like, like I would never play Fallout or Skyrim in third person ever. Like it, I only play those games in first, but there are people who do like playing in third. But yeah, it's like, we'll see. Like I said, that's why I'm really interested to go back, and I should see if the Rose. I know they have a big sale going on for that right now. Let's see if the PlayStation Store has the Rose DLC on sale in Evil Village. Because if it's on sale, that could be a shot. I have to reinstall it. But let's see, RE Village. Here's the game. It's $10 for the game right now, and then the DLC. If the store would click, where is the Maiden? I don't want the Maiden DLC. Where's the Rose DLC for this? I can't. The Winter's expansion. Oh, it's $10 for the expansion right now. Oh, that's right, because it came with whatchamacallit, the third person. You can play the main game in third person now for Village, and then the added Mercenaries and Shadows of Rose. So yeah, I guess it would be interesting to go back and like just replay the opening of the main game, knowing how it played in first, and then see how different it is. Because obviously there's like bits in there where those like werewolves are attacking you in the village at first. You're trying to run away, and they pop up in like the windows and whatnot, and then running from Lady D. Like, how different would that be? But I mean, running away from Mr. X is also scary. So, it'd be interesting to go back. $10. Yeah, I should add it to the list. That's on sale till the 18th. So,
I think both can be scary.
yeah.
Yeah, it's more of like the design aspect of it. I feel like a lot of direction goes into making a game in a particular camera view, and you can't just like change it last minute willy nilly and have it be like a comparable or equal game. I just think one experience is going to be the winner.
Yeah, I'm curious how like the dollhouse level would work in Village in third person. Like, would it be as tense? Like, obviously, yeah, you're still can die in one hit if you get caught. But yeah, I'd be wondering how it plays. But yeah, I'll add it to my cart, and maybe I'll go back and play it and see how it does. But there was that, so that was one confirmation from them. There's also this weird thing about how people are thinking that the character in the trailer is not the main character. Like, there's some weird. Well, I was going to say something on the game, but I won't spoil it just in case, even though we've talked about it plenty. But like, they're like, "Oh, I don't think she's the main character." Like, I don't know, just weird online conspiracies going
It's
on.
it's
People
all
want
I went
to
down
do
this rabbit hole. It's all because the leaker that the guy that leaked the actual announcement also claimed that there were different characters in the game, but every Resident Evil kind of follows the same formula. They're all kind of like the same game. I'm sure there's going to be a portion in the game where like some old legacy character shows up for one chapter and you play as them and rescue like the main character. You know, Resident Evil 4, you play as Ada, you play as Chris in some of the other games. Like they always have a perspective shift for like one chapter to a legacy
Hmm.
character.
Yeah, or like in the two when it's like you play as Sherry for a bit, trying to get out of that thing in the remake, the
Right.
orphanage or whatever. And it's like, yeah, you kind of change in 3. You play as blanking on his name, the one mercenary when Jill gets sick. So yeah, there
Right.
are precedents of you playing as other folks outside of like 7 and Village.
But I think it's still going to be the same. My personal opinion is it's still going to be the same main character. But yeah, it's probably going to be the same as every other Resident Evil game where there's like a single chapter where you play as someone else.
Yeah, probably. And yeah, the other things we got from learning after all these showcases was that confirmation of what that Metal Gear Solid Delta online mode is. It's essentially it's called Fox Hunt. It's exactly what we said. It's hide and seek with the camo. Essentially, their version of like it hide and seek. Is essentially just prop hunt, where you're hiding in objects, and you just make yourself look like something, and they got to find you. So it's a hide and seek mode for a Metal Gear, which still could be pretty fun, especially with that camo. She's like, "Is that bush really bush, or is that snake?" So we'll see
imagine
how that
just
goes.
like I want to say there's a lot of cool things that could be done with it because it's Metal Gear, but obviously Kojima's not involved, so it's not going to have like the cool weird stuff. But I really like the idea of just kind of going around like kicking at random things,
Hmm.
like waiting for a different noise, like of just kicking a bush. Like, does that sound like a bush, or does that sound like I'm kicking a person?
Yeah, like, oh, the bush is kind of squishy, but yeah, because like I love like prop hunt, and it sucks because I don't get a chance because I don't play Call of Duty, I don't play it that much. Like I played it a bit back in the day, but like I love watching clips of prop hunt and when people like they can't find someone, so they just start shooting every object that they can see, trying to get lucky. It's always fun seeing someone run around the map as a chair trying to find a new spot to hide. It's like in Dark Souls when you get invaded and or like Elden Ring, when you see the clips of people turning into the gates and blocking the sewers in beneath Lindell. Like, all right, now you can't run past me. Or like the elevator, they block the elevator door and they just look like a gate and people don't even realize it's a person. It's so funny. It reminds me of that. So it could be fun. And then we got news that Sony had some layoffs at Ben's studio, of course, the team behind Days Gone. They didn't specify how many people got laid off, but they laid off some folks while they work to transition to whatever their next project is, which is surprising. They're not necessarily a huge team. So I'm like, okay, but what were you working on something and then it got canceled? Like you guys have been quiet for a while. Like you're not doing Days Gone 2 because Sony turned down that pitch. So they must have been like maybe in the early stages of something, and then Sony's like, we don't like it, so then they have to scrap it, but we don't hear about it. And then now they have to lay some folks off while they transition to something else. So I'm wondering if that's the case going on there. Because I was talking to my cousin the other day about what every Sony studio is working on currently that we know of, and Ben's studio is still a blind spot. It's unfortunate. Then I saw an article saying that because of the Netflix anime for Devil May Cry, sales for Devil May Cry 5 have shot up and now have surpassed 10 million units total. So that's good to see. It's always
Good
funny
for
when
them.
IP comes out or another version of a new media property for IP comes out, and it's like, all right, it causes a spike in everything else. Like we saw that with like I think the Witcher when the Witcher season 1 came out, it was like people started getting Witcher 3 or they see a spike in sales there. I'm trying to
Mhm.
remember what the last property was that came out. Oh, like a lot of people playing Tlu because of the show. That's another one. Seen a lot of those. And then also we have a tentative halt to the SAG-AFTRA strike for voice actor and performers, which I'm gonna be honest, I forgot it's been going on for a year.
I
Yeah.
I definitely thought it was over. I didn't realize it was still happening.
I thought we reached an agreement on this like way back, and I guess they must have fallen through, and I just forgot about it because of something else going on. But yeah, it's been going on for a while, but they have reached a tentative agreement. So they told everybody to, the strike has been suspended. That was on the 11th. So now we'll see, what happens if they can find a negotiation to, not use AI and that stuff. But I don't know. We'll see what what happens there. But when I saw that, I was like, I didn't realize it was going on. So I'm wondering like how much that has
Is,
impacted certain the
God,
big end
is the
titles.
fight still over AI for them?
Yes.
I know that that was like
Primarily,
the
yeah.
big deal of like rights to like voices and faces and using AI, but is it AI just to replace like famous actors, or is it like AI
AI
for
and
writing or at
for
all?
it's
Everything.
for the performers. Well, they're doing it because obviously they're not a writers guild. They're the voice actors and performers. So they're doing it for them, for their field of like, hey, don't AI my voice. I know
I would.
at the same we had writers go on strike for the movies because I remember when the movies happened around the same time as well because it was the SAG-AFTRA and then it was the Screen Actors Guild and then it was the Writers Guild and I think the Producers Guild also had a small strike or something was going on there, but I don't think it was related to AI, but like a lot of that happened at the same time. And then that, because I remember all the actors going on strike. I remember seeing that, and that ended. And I thought that cascaded down to SAG-AFTRA for the voice actors and performers, but I guess it never did, or like whatever they agreed on. If I recall, like it wasn't exactly what they wanted, and then they decided, like, no, we can't. This isn't what we want. We got to go on strike. So they remained on strike.
Man, I need to read more about this. I'm kind of like I don't hate the idea of using AI for like background voices or conversations or characters, like things to make a world feel more alive that you just don't have time or money for. Because I think we're getting into this position where like we expect every game we play to have a fully fleshed out world with like every NPC you talk to has a story to tell you and has things to say and is voiced and animated, and I think like all of that is just unrealistic as games get more expensive and the world gets more expensive. So I wouldn't hate seeing AI for that, but I don't even know if that's part of the conversation or debate or if it's just totally different.
Now, this is just around like voices and primarily, yeah, not for writing. Because we talked about that. Like, if you build, I mean, I think we talked about it, was it last week or something? Maybe you weren't on that episode. like if you build it in house and feed it your own stuff, like I feel like that would be okay because at least then when you hire folks, you let them know like, hey, like if for the writing of NPCs, right? Like, okay, we generated a bunch of NPCs in the city. They have to have some sort of barkers. Do we want to spend time doing that, or would we rather refine our time on the MSQ or important side quests and working on that dialogue? And it's like, okay, let's have our writers feed it prompts of stuff they can talk about and then they generate off that or something. It's like, okay, as long as it's off your own work and like you said, if it's something that you can't do because of limitations on staff or time and budget, and it's like, okay, well, if you have tools you can in-house create that don't pull from anyone else's work and it's not generative, it just creates off your own stuff. It doesn't look at the internet. I feel like you can try to find something there. But yeah, as long as it's not something that like totally gets rid of a job, like don't 100% rely. It's like when those games that come out, those indie games where it's like the announcers are all AI because they wanted to get into I think early access and they said like, "Oh, well we're going to replace it with actual voices later." And I don't know if they did that because of now that I think about it, maybe they did that because of the strike, but I'm like, isn't that kind of what they're striking against? Like why would you do it? But and it's like I think they finally went back in and actually added in real voices. I think it was just temporary. Which I could see too, like as a draft, something like, okay, what would it be like if we record a bunch of barkers, or did something that's like, let's see what it would sound like. Okay, let's generate the voices, hear it. Okay, is that too much? Is that too little? Okay, now we know we only need 50% of this. Let's go record with the actors that 50%. You know what I mean? Like the additional voices credits you always see in video games. It's like they use it just kind of testing ground to be like, is it too much? Is it going to overwhelm the player if there's like, Nathan Drake walking Madagascar? Like, is this crowd too loud? Is there too much going on? Like, how much do we actually need? And then just beta test it, like early draft test it with the AI or something. I don't know. I'm not a dev, but yeah, we'll see if that sticks. Could be good. And then that's it. Like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of news, a lot of hands-on previews of stuff, a lot of interviews with developers. So a lot of stuff coming out of Summer Game Fest. If people want to check out interviews, I watched a couple for like from IGN that they had. I know they talked to the Chronos New Dawn folks about their game. But yeah, it's just a lot of interviews, a lot of conversations you can check up on for all the games you're interested in, and way too many trailers. I mean, we talked about last week how there was like so many games it was hard to keep track of what there was. Like all these indie games, and I'm like, damn, how am I gonna keep track of all this? But yeah, that'll pretty much do. I did see a fun little article, not tangentially related to video games, where so Warhammer had a new update essentially go live. So they have a bunch of these special edition books and whatnot and cards for like these new things that went out, and they shut down their website because they noticed like a bunch of scammers were trying to get these to sell them on eBay and whatnot. So like we're just going to take actions to shut this down and cancel all these orders from these people who are clearly not they're not doing it for that reason. They're trying to scalp. I thought that was funny. Just like, hey, just straight up, nah, we're gonna delete our queue system. So we've noticed some bad activity on there. We're not gonna have them ruin the day for all these other folks. Gotta fix it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Not a whole lot else. I don't. Isli, you weren't here last week. Was there anything that you saw from? Because there was a lot of showcases. Like we talked about a lot of indie stuff. There's the women's led showcase. A lot of stuff that happened outside of the main ones. Was there anything that kind of stood to you that you got you excited from any of the?
Oh God, not that I remember. I should have taken notes. There were definitely cool things. I just didn't write a single one of them down, and I need to watch it again. And was planning on doing that today and writing down release dates and titles to track. I just, like I
Yeah,
said, I feel like there was so much that was announced over the past like 2 weeks that I didn't expect that many games. I just didn't realize it was like Summer Games Fest on top of like three other things.
yeah. There's a lot. Maybe if you weren't talking about Verso and chat at 12 a.m.
It's possible. It's possible.
But
Eggens,
uh
yeah.
yeah. The Discord debate going on back and forth, back and forth. Hey, remember when this
I
happened?
like that now it's migrated into the group chat rather than just like a single message from Isli at 12 o'clock at night that I wake up to and I'm just like, this motherfucker.
Yeah.
Well, now it's not spoilers. I was
Yeah.
doing that before because it was spoilers.
Yeah. Yeah, we go ahead and move on to what we've been playing. We'll start with you, Izzy, because you haven't been on. You weren't on last week, and I think Were you? I don't know if you were on the week before. I can't recall. You might have been because I think we talked about Clair Obscur, so maybe you're on that one. What do you? I know you probably working on the platinum for Clair Obscur, right?
I finished the platinum for Clair Obscur, I think by our last podcast. So I was done with that. I took a break after Clair Obscur because I was just like, what the hell game do you play next after a game that's like kind of such a good masterpiece? And I ended up just waiting until the Altars came out, and I've been playing the Altars this weekend, and that's kind of the first thing I've played in 2 weeks, I think. Um, Otherwise, I was just catching up on TV shows, old seasons of stuff that I hadn't watched yet, in various movies. Finally finished Severance, finished Squid Game season 2.
Just catching up on all the things.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff out
Did
there.
you start the altars?
I did start the Altars. I'm
Yeah.
about as far as you. I this is all kind of on me, but I didn't realize it was such a base building game.
Sorry, you didn't realize that? Like that was like everything we talked about was it being like you building the base and whatnot, and then rolling around the giant wheel and then doing all the sim stuff.
No, sorry, I had to run off because I was like, oh, I smell burning, but my food's not actually burning. I knew it was a base building game. I didn't really it. I'm like all mixed up now. It's kind of like base building light. Like it's not exactly the type of base building game I thought it would be. I guess I didn't play the demo, and I thought it would be either significantly more complex or that the base building would be extremely downplayed. Instead, it's like this weird. When you compared it to Fallout Shelter, I thought that was perfect because it just kind of reminds me of like a mobile game and not a console game. I don't know how to describe it, and I think that might change as I get further in, but it's not clicking for me yet. And I think I probably just need to get further in, but it hasn't gripped me yet. I'm curious what you think of the game.
I'll get back to it in a sec. I don't want to, because that's what I've been playing, so I don't want to take up all the time talking about that and then kicking it to. Okay. I'll talk real quick. Yeah.
I'll give the spoiler. I haven't been playing anything.
Oh
Everything
no.
That's it.
And just working on your planet for Clair Obscur.
Oh yeah, about that. The only two trophies I have left are the level 99, which is whatever, and the gestural games. I was like, oh, I could probably knock at least one of those out like during my lunch break with remote play on my tablet. Yeah, don't do that. That's a good way to put you in a bad mood for the rest of the day. So I'll have to just sit down.
Which trials do you have left?
All of them because I didn't do any of them.
Oh, well. Which one did you choose to start with that frustrated you?
Oh, just the very first one. And it's not like the trial itself is frustrating, but I'm doing it over remote play. And so like I'll get to like the mid or maybe the end of it and like it starts lagging and I'm like, this is not the move.
Yeah.
I need to do this at home.
Yeah. Yes.
That's been my week, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I started playing the Altars. I'm not too far in. I've had 2 nights to play with it. I'm in Act 1. I'm seeing like, okay, here we go. I got the loop now. Over because the early tutorial bit, it's very much like got to teach you all the systems, yada yada. I kind of like that you don't have to spend like that first altar you make. You don't have to spend so much time. Like you spend a while like trying. Okay, it's you to go look at his story, see what his life was like, and yada yada. And you go back and talk to him like, oh, you did this, I did that. You stood up to dad, I didn't. And then you had that conversation. But you don't do that with the other ones. But I guess you kind of can learn like how they might react to what you're saying based on their experiences. So that's interesting, but I haven't seen more expansion on that as far as because right now everyone seems to be kind of happy. They're not like all upset. So I haven't gotten to the point where it's like, okay, I really need to like min max the relationship with this one by focusing on what they did in life and what goes on there. But I knew it was going to be base building because it's 11-bit, so it's I play Frostpunk, like I know how that game goes, so I wasn't caught off guard. I'm more surprised that it was as story heavy as it is, which isn't a bad thing. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it would be a little more because there's a story in Frostpunk 2, but it's very much like you're pulled back and it's like okay, it plays out.
Maybe
there's events that happen, but
maybe that's a good way to put it instead of like it feels like a mobile game is that it when I was saying like you don't focus on the base building or it's not as complex, maybe it is more of like it does feel very story driven because I feel like every action I take is this like long cutscene or series of scenes to get from one scene to the next, and it's not like I don't feel like I'm regularly spending a ton of time actually managing a base. I feel like 90% of my time so far has been cutscenes.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just the onboarding process of, hey, let's get the start. Like I thought, so the game starts off, Jan, he crashes down on this planet, like in his little survival pod, and so does the rest of his crew, but his crew's all dead. Gets back to the ship, and he gets the radio contact. There's a lot of radiation, so they can't quite hear him. They tell him that he needs to. He finds Rupidium. He tells him he found, which is like this special radioactive, like material that they discovered on Earth, like on this, well, out in space way back in the day, and like made people super excited. So like you're on a ship that's like their mission is to go find Rupidium and mine it. And So it's like, okay, that's what we're doing. And he finds some, tells the radio, they're like, okay, you got to use it, you got to test it out on. We have a sample, and he clones a sheep, calls it Molly, not Dolly. And then eventually they tell him to clone himself because he needs help operating the ship. So you clone these. There's a quantum computer, and at first I thought like, oh, is this going to be like a Rick and Morty thing where there's like parallel realities, and it's just the quantum computer can see into those realities, and then it's like, no, it's doing calculations on its own of what would happen, because like you find out that it's been scanning the crew members' brains, like all their memories of all these major points in their life, and using that, it generates like, what if you made this decision differently, like a Quantic Dream game, right? Like, what if you stood up to dad? What would have happened? And then like the quantum computer like essentially uses its advanced algorithm to be like, this is what you would have done. All points lead back to the ship, then the mission. But like it generates a different version of Jan, and it's like, okay, this is interesting. I'm curious that it's not parallel realities. It's just creating these memories. So like, we just talked about AI creating stories and whatnot. Like essentially that's what this computer is doing. It's creating like, what would he be like if he made this decision? What would have happened, the high level overview of his life. And then it gives him those memories when it creates the clone version of him. Which is really interesting. And I thought like, okay, I feel like clearly when I start playing the game, like, okay, there's something. I know we're not talking about the base sim stuff right now, but like I was like, there's something going on more, because the entire crew's dead, and even he thinks it's weird that everybody's dead. And I thought, like, okay, this is clearly like he's been chosen, like something special about him. And then later, I don't. Did you? How far in Act One did you get? Did you talk to the boss of Alicorp?
You're a bit further than me, but I watched you play on stream last night, so
Okay.
I had spoilers.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like, okay, clearly he got chosen. I'm thinking it's like an ex machina situation. And then like you talk to the boss, and he has a theory. He's like, why the crew is dead? I think the computer did it. Because the computer's job on the ship was to pilot the ship, go out and find a source of rupidium for the mission, and then drop down and you find how they word it. Find essentially the highest success rate to get rupidium. So he's like, the boss says, I think the QC did it, the quantum computer. He's like, but I don't have any proof. I just think it didn't. Why would he do it? He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, this is ex machina. Like the computer found rupidium on this planet and thought, okay, the best way to get it isn't with the entire crew because they wouldn't agree or be able to find it. It's using this guy who had so many more points in his life that were major intersections of their quantic dream choices that we can make multiple clones of him that would fulfill, like, I think I'm sure like some crew members probably were going to die in the crash maybe, and it just killed the rest, being like, okay, the best way to do this is just we'll keep him, clone him, because there could be a version of him as a mechanic, a botanist, refiner, a guard, a scientist. Like we can see that off his memories how this would happen and give him the skill set. And so I was like, that's interesting because it's very much is, like I said, ex machina. It's the computer deciding that the best way for this mission to succeed is to kill everyone except this guy and just clone him. Because that's the most likely outcome of what'll have to be done. It's like the fates or something in God of War. Like this is how it has to be done, like this. So that got really interesting. And it's curious that they kind of seeded that and confirmed that suspicion in Act One where they did. But now that I'm out of the tutorial and I'm in Act One, I'm at a point where it's like, okay, it seems like you're always moving from the sun. Like there's 3 stars to this planet. They call it like a tri. I don't think they call it tri-star, but they call it like a something tri-system, or they have a word. TriStar's a company. I think they want to use that. And like when the sun comes up, you have to move the base. And right now the base is stuck. Like we ran away in the first bit. Uh, but I have like all the resources around. Like, okay, I see the gameplay loop now. Now it's I need to make clones of myself. And I make you make one right away who's the maintenance guy, the mechanic, Jan mechanic. And you have a decision to make. Like, okay, you can make two more alters. Do you make a guard? Do you make a botanist? Do you make a scientist? Do you make a miner? Do you make what have you? So there, I see like the gameplay bits of it like that because like I'm thinking a lot like it's a lot like Oxygen Not Included because all those are duplicates. It's very much the same way. Like they're not people; they're being duplicated from DNA, and there's a whole like lore behind Oni that you can read about in game. So I'm like, okay, this is Oxygen Not Included, and it's like, do I rush the science? Which is be good because I can expand the ship to be bigger so I can hold more things in it in that Fallout shelter style layout? Or do I focus on getting my food production up by having someone who can deal with the plants at a much higher rate of speed than everybody? Everybody can do all the jobs, but it's like you have your specialist who just excels at it, and it's someone that can only do it. But then you have to go out and find we called them was it qubits to upgrade the quantum computer so you can get additional alters and it can find like in order to make this alter you have to have the quantum computer at this level because like I guess more complicated to map out what their memories would be. So like okay, I see the loop. There's going to be more advanced yawns out there. uh, but I have to upgrade the computer and I'm limited to how many alters I can currently make. Like right now I can make a fourth one, but I haven't. I was like, do I make the scientist or like I want to make the scientist because I'm like, that's what we're going to need to do because we got to research. I found that in the anomalies. I'm like, okay, clearly the anomalies are going to be the way we get across this gap. But it has like all the you set up you get to a spot. It reminds me of Icarus as well because like Act One, it's like we're stuck in this spot until we can get out. But we have a mining spot for metals. We have a mining spot for organics. We have a mining spot for rupidium, and we have a mining spot for some other resources. And it's like, okay, I could set up all these resource collection spots like in Icarus or Satisfactory and then have them all come back to the ship and then you just have to refine those or have people they have to actually physically work those. They're not automated. So that's a lot like Oni, like a duplicate has to be there to operate it and you can assign people a job. What I think is really cool is that when a I always call them duplicate, when a version of Yon fixes or does something that you tell them to do. They say like, "Hey, I finished this task. Do you want me to do?" And then it's whatever else is like queued up to be done. Do you want me to go mine at this station? Do you want me to do this? And you could say just yes or no if you want to reallocate them to something else. So you're like, it's like an HR sim or something like it's a management game. So it's like where do I want to have them go? Which I think is really cool. And I do that versus just like duplicates and Oni will just idle around if they don't have anything to do. Which means there's literally nothing to do. But that just means I have to queue something up for them. So I like that. The base building, I'm like, I see where it goes now. It's like, okay, I love that you can, unlike Fallout Shelter, you can rearrange the entire base. I'm like, oh, thank God. I wish I could change that center engine or whatever it was. Maybe you can. I haven't tried it, but I'm glad you can at least rearrange everything. I'm like, because the way it's laid out right now, I'm like, oh, I hate this because they give me a building. It's like build this. It's like 5 tiles wide. I'm like, no, what do I do? But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. Now that I see the loop, and I'm past more of that story stuff, and now it's definitely going to be more like, okay, I'm managing the stress level of the crew. I'm managing resources. I'm trying to pick and choose the priority of who do I want to make first when I expand my crew, which would be more beneficial now versus later. Because I'm like, oh, if I get the research up, like the game is Act One is very much pushing you towards get the research person because you have to get past the anomalies. It's like, okay, maybe they can research something that can help the ship move. So like it's kind of pushing you that direction. So I'm curious how many like the trailer makes it seem like we can make a ton once we get like out of Act One. But if like each act is like this where you move on your mobile base and then you set up all your resource gathering for each of those acts and then you deal with whatever story events happen, like I'm all for that. It sounds like I'm like that's it's doing what I love about Icarus, where I have to start over each time and you get more efficient at it. You're like, okay, it'd be better if I got this resource first. If I get this and assign person here and do this. And I love how you can fast travel between all those key production buildings and you can build your own fast travel, very Death Stranding. Like you can build your own little fast travel system if you want, like these points. And they have to be like in a certain range, very much like Satisfactory. So a lot of stuff there. It took me a bit to finally feel the loop, and it wasn't until, like, halfway through Act 1, when I was like, "Okay, I'm in it. It's got me now." The game is very resource intensive too for some reason.
And I'll just say like about the loop. I think that I'm not quite at the point where I feel the loop yet, which is why I'm not quite sold on it. Is I'm a little bit behind you, and I see where the loop is going. I just am not like I need to actually play through the loop once or twice and have it not be 90% cutscenes in order to feel like I'm playing a game. And it
Yeah.
feels like a very prolonged intro right now.
It definitely because it's very system heavy, so they're definitely being way more handholdy, than most other games, like Factorio just throws you in, Oni just throws you in, Icarus just throws you in. It gives you some if you do the missions, it tells you what to do, but you don't play those games really, like, I'm the one who plays Oni, Icarus, Factorio, all those games, like, you don't do many of the base building resource management kinda stuff. I mean,
I
Sons of
played
the Forest, but not like Sons of the Forest.
no, I mean I played like Satisfactory and I like some of those games, but I historically don't play a ton because I just don't think they play as well on console as they have on
True, true,
PC.
true.
Or a lot of those games are only on PC, like
Mhm.
RimWorld and stuff was only on PC. It's definitely not my preferred genre. I just thought that the Alters had like an interesting enough storyline, and it looked visually like a style I would enjoy enough that I figured I'd give it a shot. And well, we'll see if the genre is something I end up enjoying, or if it's. It'll be interesting if you end up loving this game and I don't. Then I'll just kind of know that like, okay, base building's not really for me. But if you don't find it to be like a high quality base building game, that'll answer some of my own questions.
Yeah, I feel
Also,
like it'll be good.
it kind of cracks me up just because in games like The Forest, I love base building. I just love base building like Zaya likes fishing. I like it when it's not supposed to be the focus of the game.
This is more like it's like I don't want to call it baby's first base building, but it's like Oni. You're an auction not included. You're building everything. Like you decide the base layout, the structure. Like if you want a room to be 12 by 4 or 24 by 4, like you choose how you want to build it out. In Factorio, you build your production lines. Obviously, there's a more optimal way. You can download blueprints, and a lot of people do that just so they can save time. In Satisfactory, you can put the stuff down however you want and do, it as suboptimal as you want or as, min-maxed as you want. Same for the forest. You can build whatever you want to build. A lot of them are like base structures, but it's like you can free build, especially in Sons of the Forest. This is like it's just that Fallout shelter grid where it's like, okay, if you're gonna build a dorm, the dorm is always this. Like I can build a bedroom as big as I want in Oni. I can have beds out in the open and they can just sleep in the beds. They just don't get that room buff. So it's like each of these other games kind of like have they do their own thing while having those mechanics. Oni is very systems heavy. And with physics and heat transfer and specific heat all that stuff and density of gases and what have you, and this is very much like, okay, what you're managing is going to be probably the crew to make sure that they're happy, which you manage stress and Oni, but it seems like this is going to be way more
And
involved.
I think I almost wish it was more I almost wish it was more complex than it was. Not almost. I do think I wish it was more complex than it was, which is a weird statement given that we just talked about how like heavy the intro is before it like lets you actually get into playing. And maybe it will be. I need to like sit down and like focus on it, like actually get through the
Yeah,
hump of the initial intro.
I think getting out of Act 1 is where it's going to expand, because I think the way they're doing it is very much like, we want to make sure we take our time and we don't overwhelm the player. Like that tutorial is very much like you got 7 days to get the hell out of there. And this is like, "Oh, the sun is far away, the sun is far away." But, like, I think it's based on events triggering, like me scouting out the lava and finding the anomalies, and I tell it to Yon Technician. I'm like, or Yon Mechanic, I was called JM. And it's like, "Hey, I found something. There's somewhere out there." And he's like, "Yeah, you should probably just build a science thing, blah, blah, blah. Make more of us." And then it's like those interactions you have, I think are gonna, because then I'm like, "There's a guard. Okay, clearly we're gonna have some sort of, like, timeout room where it's like, 'Yo, you're misbehaving. You gotta go.'" Like in, RimWorld. And RimWorld's on console. You can play RimWorld on console now. I think it came out on PS4 a couple years ago. But you got a laptop, so you can get it there. So it's like I think it's going to expand, but I think they're just taking more time than usual. I think because for them, it's also a little more like you manage people's happiness in Frostpunk, but this is like individual people's happiness. And now it's like, okay, I got to make sure the mechanic's happy. I got to make sure the botanist is happy. Because if Mark Watney's not, then it's like, okay, here we go. Uh, but yeah, so I think that's why they're kind of playing it safe and a little slower, which I'm okay with. But usually I'm like, I'm so used to games being like, just throw me in the water and I got to learn to swim, right? It's like that because that's what Oni and Factorio are. Like they give you no guides. You just go in and start. They tell you like, hey, you need a food source. Okay, go click the food tab. What can I do? What materials does it need? You have the basic understanding of how the game functions. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to pick up once we get out of because I think it's going to be like whatever the high amount of altars we'll be able to make. I feel like that's going to be because we can expand the ship. It looks like at least 3 tiers. I don't know how much it expands it once we do it. And I like it does that thing too where it's like the more you build, the more mass it has, which means the more organics you need to move. So I'm like buildings like it's this double-edged sword of, oh, I need to build because I need more storage. But it's like an airplane, right? Like you only want to carry a certain amount of fuel because at a certain point, the more fuel you carry, you're just carrying the fuel so you can compensate for the increased weight of the plane and which you needed that fuel for. So it's like this golden ratio of fuel on an airplane. And yeah, it's I see where it's going. So I'm curious, like, and then what story events are going to happen that kind of are like those Frostpunk things of the Londoners showing up and saying the city's gone down and then everything's in turmoil. Is there going to be some sort of a bad egg Jan who's like Jan Bad Egg who's going to be like just spreading dissent amongst the other clones and being like, nah, he's not number one, ain't the captain. We got to take this guy out. Like clearly there's going to be some other
I don't
story
know.
events
My
that go on.
initial impression is that they're all bad eggs. These Yans are grumpy. They're all
I'd
grumpy motherfuckers.
I'd be grumpy too if like, I wasn't
Yeah.
real. I was just a computer created the memories for me. He's like, get the one. He's like, why'd you give me the memories to my wife?
Painted
What the
into the
hell, dude?
world, if you will.
Yeah, man, we got this Verso kid computer, and it's like, what's going on? Actually, it's the mom, but she did it. Yeah, dang. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing more of it. Again, it crazy how resource intensive it was because it's only in certain scenes too. Like if I look at the ship in the build mode, GPU utilization goes up, especially at 1440p, even just at medium. It's like there must be some extra particles or it just needs to be optimized a little more. And then like whenever I'm zooming in on the little memory strands, it's like damn, these particle effects are just killing my GPU. So I'm like, I've been playing it at 1080p instead at ultra. I'm like, okay, I'm getting no issues now, but it's only because I'm streaming. If I wasn't streaming, it wouldn't be a problem. It's just like that extra bit you need to stream because now you're just rendering more stuff out. Uh, it takes up just that little bit of extra. Same if you record while you stream because it's gonna. I was like, should I record this? Like, I'm not gonna record it. But yeah, aside from starting that, I did finish the Atomfall DLC. That was fun. I talked about it last week, I believe, but it's interesting that it runs in parallel with the main game and not its own isolated DLC like the old the Bloodborne Old Hunters DLC or any other game with a DLC, Operation Anchorage from Fallout or whatever. It's like it's in parallel. Like it's DLC that can be played if you just start a new game. And I think that's really cool because it's like, okay, you can do the side thing. It adds 2 extra endings. But like people you meet there send you back to do quest on the mainland. So it's like that's kind of cool that it's like, oh, we need you to do this. You have to go here. It's like, okay, well, in the main game, you would have to actually have gone there or at least get there, do whatever, deal with whoever's over there. So I thought that was really cool that it's like it did make it a little frustrating though, playing it after with the save that's essentially at the end of the game after I beat the game. Because like the first character I meet, she's like, "Oh, I had a scientist friend at the interchange. He hid some stuff for me. Can you go get it?" So I'm like, I gotta go back to the interchange because there's no interchange entrance on the island. So I gotta go back to the mainland, go to the interchange, go to the tubes, get the stuff, and then go back to the character. There's no fast travel. So it's like that kind of bug. I was like, damn. The first mission I get is someone telling me to go back to the main story section. I was like, that's a little frustrating. But yeah, it was fun to go back there. I'm curious what they're gonna do next because that's of course the Sniper Elite Team Rebellion. If they'll make another single player game.
How did you feel
Prob
about Atomfall as like a whole? Did you end up enjoying it? Where would you put it with like similar games you've played?
Yeah, I liked it overall. I mean, I talked about on that one episode. I like the barter system. I think is fun instead of having money. Like you barter the items that you have. I think it's really cool. A fun danger because you don't really get that in games. Obviously you get it in like Baldur's Gate, but you can get money. Like it's not you're trading stuff typically for either gold or not often is it just like, hey, here's a bunch of spells or whatever to give me that armor piece. Like typically it's they're using money as well. So there's just no money. I wish that there's a way to increase the backpack capacity. Like inventory limitations was like a big thing. I'm like, damn, you can't even expand it. You can't craft bows or arrows rather, which I thought was annoying. I wish they would have allowed you to do that because ammo is pretty scarce, and I was playing on the hardest difficulty, so I probably shouldn't have. In because on the island, like hardly anybody has any guns, and it's like, man, I was really running out of stuff. Now there's melee, and you get melee buffs and do all that, but it definitely felt like I should have been doing more melee on the in the DLC versus the main game. But I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was a good looking game. I like the fact that it doesn't hold your hand. The one thing I talked about though, of course, that the only downside to let the player discover, like it gives you like, hey, you got to find the interchange. Okay, what the hell's that? So then when you talk to people, you hear information about this place called the interchange, and it's like, okay, so it encourages you to talk to people, or you, and because so you can find that information out from so many. It's like, okay, if the player goes any direction, we need to make sure that there's someone that they can interact with in those directions if they choose to, who will tell them something related to this ambiguous quest we've given them, which is great because it means you can do whatever you want, and you'll typically run into someone who will tell you how about something or they heard about something. Usually, it's about the entrance of the interchange, and there's entrances to it in every zone. So you can go to any zone, and someone will say like, "Yeah, we heard about the interchange. I think it's over there. Let me mark it on your map." But because of that, it's like then if you talk to all NPCs because you're a completionist, sometimes you get the same information multiple times, and they do let you say stuff like when someone mentions the interchange, you're like, "Yeah, I've been there." And they're like, "Oh, what? You've been there?" And they're like all surprised. It's like when you find an item for a quest and then you go to turn in or get the quest from a person, like, "I need you to get me a jar of pickles." You're like, "I already got a jar of pickles." I'm like, "Oh, nice." And you can just turn it in. It They do that. So it's like it can be a little frustrating. It's like I already know about this, but multiple people are telling you about it because you talk to everybody. But I like it. I thought it was fun. I like the again resource management. I'm curious what they could do with like more skills. They don't have a ton. You don't like even cap out on your skills in that game because you don't find enough of the stuff you need to get the skill points. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good, like, especially for making their first game that wasn't a sniper elite game, like, and it's first person. Yeah, so it's interesting to see them go from something they know. It's kind of like when going from Killzone to Horizon, right? It's not obviously that big, but it's like going from one genre to something a little different. Obviously, they're still shooting, but it's like it's not first person. You're not sneaking around a bunch and sniping and all that stuff. So it's like, hey, let's try this more story driven first person game. And I thought they did a good job. I thought it was good. It was really solid. There's a lot I liked about it. I could see like where they would refine it if they were to do like another Atomfall or like a spiritual successor. Just don't call it Atomfall 2. Do the
Didn't
the
no, they didn't announce Atomfall 2. What did they? They just
they
announced something
they announced
similar.
Atomic Heart 2,
Yeah,
but
Atomic Heart 2. I was like, they just
it's a
announced something like
spiritual
that.
successor
Yeah.
to the first game. It's like, what the fuck does that mean? You made the game, my guy. uh, but yeah, I enjoyed it. And then just doing a little bit of Grayson Warfare 0.3, just doing tasks in that. That's fun, of course. And I don't think I have anything else. Did I missed getting the Cyberpunk DLC because I want to play that. But I will probably end up getting that Rose DLC and playing it at some point. But I'll be playing Ultras right now, and then of course we have Death Stranding coming out later this month. So should be
Death Stranding, I feel like kind of snuck up on me. I'm excited about that.
yeah.
It'll be fun for me because I played the first one. We talked about this before, but like when I played the first one, all of the structures were already built and like the world was already explored. So I'm really looking forward to like starting Death Stranding 2 right at the start and seeing people actually like complete things and actually using the earlier game equipment and structures instead of just having them littered everywhere in the most optimal spots.
Yeah, that's what's gonna be really fun is doing that, and then it'd be interesting to go back later, like a year later or something, and then seeing what it looks like. Because that was, like, one of my favorite parts of going back to the PC, and starting a new game there was just seeing, like, all the stuff that's set up, was fun. And the coworker's name was Ivan, the driver's name was Ivan, so, like, I was like, "Ivan?" It's like, "Ivan." It's like, "Right, right." That's what it was, going back to that name thing from earlier in the episode. But yeah, that's, pretty much it. Zai, is there anything coming up that you're looking forward to? I don't know if there's like you're waiting for an expansion or something. I know you and your hunky star whale, so you must be doing some new stuff in there that you mentioned. But anything on
Just
your
playing Honky Stonk Girl. I mean, Sort of. Death Stranding 2, obviously, but I don't know if I'm gonna play that right away, or if maybe Michael's gonna get it and I'll just watch him play it. Kind of like what we did with the first one.
Hmm.
I don't know, there's not like just looking at my calendar. Ironically, I have right next to each other Death Stranding and then Tamagotchi Plaza
Nice.
for just like, the breadth of games that I am interested in and play. There's a game called Wuchang that's coming out like next month, I think. That looks really cool. It's a very like kind of Souls Black Myth Wukong kind of vibe
Hmm.
to it. It looks really cool. Other than
Yeah.
that, like not really much that I'm like super looking forward to in the next couple months. I'm not sure.
It'll
Lots of
sneak
like
up on you
indie
like, oh, I
stuff.
forgot about this thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have something new to can speak about. Like, yeah, try this new thing. Yeah, because it's always like there are so many smaller games where it's like I forget that they're on their way and all of a sudden it sneaks up on you. It's like, oh, here's this thing.
Yeah, I get notices from Steam constantly that's like, "Hey, this thing on your wish list is coming out or it's on sale." And I'm like, "When did I put that on my wish list? Oh, that looks neat.
Yeah.
Okay, now I understand why I put it on my wish list." So,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Is you're gonna have to you play Ultras, you're gonna have to get Icarus or something. We have to play a base building game together. A game
We'll
where you
play
can
the
just
forest. We'll
build a
play the
base.
forest. I like building bases. Maybe it's like the 3D versus 2D elements. Like I'm not sure I enjoy simplistic 2D base building. And it's kind of interesting because like I like sim games, I love Stardew Valley. I love management games like that. I like sandbox games. I really love Terraria. I liked Core Keeper. Really enjoy those things, but this one is like I feel like I'm confined. I can't do interesting designs. The base building doesn't actually seem complex. The the fact that you can rearrange things is really convenient and cool, but also seems sort of pointless to me because you're trapped in just the ring anyways. So it's like you can rearrange it for convenience, but you're not changing like the aesthetics of your base or anything to like reflect upon. All of the base structures kind of have a purpose. There's no like, maybe later, but there's no like build random chairs, decorate these rooms. And then it's just very like story heavy, and the story's really interesting, but it kind of reminds me of like Quantic Dream games in that regard of like it it's just not clicking quite yet. And I don't think it's a bad game. I actually think it's probably a good game. I think it's more that this style of game just might not be for me, and I haven't played enough of them to know which elements of base building I enjoy versus which elements I don't enjoy.
Yeah, I think the the rearranging from my experience of playing games will come into play way more, especially because like that initial layout does not feel optimal to me. Like you'll probably want to put like okay, I'll have my storage down here because it's this tiles type, so I'll put it here. That way, it impacts everything else. Because like it's tall, it's not wide. It's like okay, this is going to impact me. It needing the elevators, much like Fallout Shelter. It's interesting that they have you can build like these corridor connectors. I'm like, why? Right now, I'm wondering like, why would I do that? Why would I not just put rooms next to each other? And there's got to be something about that where like, oh, is like in Fallout Shelter, you just build things next to each other. Is it going to be like, okay, if in Fallout Shelter, if a fire breaks out in the generator, the fire spreads to the rooms that are connected to it. And then eventually to the rooms that are above and below. Or if there's like a rad roach infestation, it starts in the one room and it spreads to the rooms that are next to it. So I'm wondering, like, okay, is the connector rooms going to be like, oh, if there's an emergency that breaks out because of you have to, there's upkeep on your rooms, which isn't a big factor right now, but it's definitely going to be. I'm curious, like, okay, is having this necessary to have this little gap filler? But I'm sure as we get more rooms, I'm definitely gonna be like, okay, I'm probably gonna wait until like I expand the ring the first time and then be like, all right, we're changing the layout of this place now. Because like in Oni, I have a layout I always do. I always build a certain way as the way I like it. It's like for me, it works. And I anytime I try to play where I don't do it that way, it's like it's gonna bug me. So I'm like in this game, I'm like, I gotta optimize this. I want my kitchen here, I want the bedrooms here. I'm probably do it very much like Oni. So I'm curious like how much if there's uh, the one thing I wish they can do, and I hope they do it soon, is like if I the enriched metals you get, you have to refine them into metals and organics. I wish I can just keep the task of refining up forever. Like if we mine, then cue the task because we can't do anything else with the enriched metals right now, unless maybe there is something where okay now, like as most games do that, it's like okay you have metal, okay now you have like Subnautica. Now you have like a better metal, or you have plate steel, not just steel. So it's like there must be like something that uses enriched metal that doesn't require it to be broken down later, and that's why they don't just automatically do it now. Because I'm like, it bugs me so much when I have to queue it up, and I'm like queue, and then it's like, okay, check how's the work order going. Okay, queue, and then, do all that. Now it just sounds like I'm crying in Final Fantasy 11. So I knows what I'm talking about.
Q.
That's right. Q.
I haven't thought of that. That took me a minute. I was like, what are you talking about?
He's like Q. It's like what?
God,
But,
the weird language barrier shit that I learned from that game.
W. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. Should be fun. Definitely get a nice week of it in, and then I'm hoping at least get one run finished prior to. I forgot to talk about it too, but I talked about it on the stream. But like, I like that when you replay a section, because it only saves when you sleep. So I played through an entire section where I didn't save, but I got really close to like the end of that night because it's very like tutorial, like, hey, talk to this person, do this, yada yada. I didn't save it. I didn't go back to sleep because I still had more stuff to do. I was like, okay, I'll just redo it tomorrow. And when you do it, it tells you, and the game tells you about this as well. Like, it will show you what dialogue prompt you picked. So if you want to see something differently, you can choose the other option. So I'm like, okay, this is great because now I can just skip all the dialogue, pick the one that's highlighted because that's the one I picked last time, and just get back to where I was. And I like that idea. So I'm hoping that would play back over to like if you like, let's say we fail in the run and you got to start over. Okay, now we can skip all the cutscenes, but maybe I know that when I made this dialogue option, he got mad at this. I want to make him happy or something. It's like, I'll pick that option. I like that. That kind of shows you like, this is what you did previously. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, looking forward to playing more of that. Should be a good time. Yeah, we'll go ahead and call it there. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Izzy. Thank you, Zai, for joining.
Yep.
And we'll see you all next time.
Later.
Bye.